Plant spirit medicine, you know, what is it? It's like to try and talk about something that's really in the realm of spirit is not really easy, because because the experience of spirit is really all about experience, not about words. Words are of the mind. So having said that, you know, plant spirit medicine, I've been a herbalist for 30 years, and I've been a long time studying and practicing plant medicine, and then I came across this amazing plant spirit medicine and was lucky enough to train and to start practicing it as a healer maybe 14, 15 years ago, and it's completely transformed my life. And also I've seen it and been like lucky enough to watch and witness the way that the plant spirits, the way that this particular medicine can transform other people. And so, and then I thought, oh, we you know, not many people know about it. It's really like little known. How can we, you know, get people to know it? And we teach, Lucy and I teach introductions, we do weekends, and we try to bring people in. But I thought, okay, what about a book then? Because I'm a writer, I've written 3 books already, and actually they're lovely books, but it was quite hard work. So I thought, oh, how about asking my lovely Lucy to write it with me, because she's just absolutely brilliant. And so it wouldn't really feel like work writing this book. It was just a complete pleasure from start to finish, because we'd get together and brainstorm and do bits, and then either she'd come to mine or I'd go to hers, and it was lovely. It was really, really such a rich thing. And also we've got this book then, for both of us, we read it sometimes, we think, wow, I don't remember that bit, and you know, something else came through. Like, so what we hope is it's the voice of the magnificent and awesome power of nature, which is the energy of the plant spirit medicine. Yeah.
And so we decided that rather than write it all down, because there are other books about the how-to, and there's the book Plant Spirit Medicine, which some of you may have heard of, by our teacher Eliot Cowan, which also, it's not exactly a how-to book, but it's a broader description of what this plant spirit medicine world entails. But we thought that if we gathered lots of stories, that would be the most accessible way for people to really get a flavour from lots of different voices. So to that end, we asked our clients, we asked our colleagues, we asked the people studying that we've been working with to give us their stories. So that really makes up the book, and what we've done is woven it together in what we hope is a lucid whole. So we've woven the stories so that they can speak for themselves of the very, very many different ways that the plant spirits can work with our lives. And these are the local plants that we live amongst. They may be the plants that we call weeds. They might be the trees. They might be the little blossoms on the bushes. They might be all the thousands and more than thousands of ways that nature expresses itself through plant form. So we thought, catch the net wide, and then we'll get as many human voices as possible. So they're mostly people who have experienced the plant spirit medicine that we practice, but there are also some other herbalists and intuitive plant spirit workers who aren't from exactly the same tradition. But it's pointing towards this sort of emergence, this resurgence of interest in just how important the plant spirits are for us at this point in time.
Yeah, so because the title Plant Spirit Medicine, which Eliot Cowan came up with, it expresses really beautifully something about what the medicine is. It's a medicine, it's the plant spirit, it's the energy or spirit of the plant that is providing the medicine, but it's also a medicine for our spirit. So we call our first chapter is that plant spirit medicine is a medicine for our time. And why do we say that? Because we all know that we're living in times when all sorts of crazy stuff is going on. We've got the looming climate crisis. We've got massive and really unprecedented whole-scale destruction of environment going on all over the place. And we've got a kind of weird, what's the word? A polarisation where people can't even see, even people that you agree with, that you can't sort of discuss things with anymore. And if there's a disagreement, if there's people are on different sides of something, it's like, so that seems to be something that's happening everywhere. Like, you know, we've got a problem of disconnect. So our own experience of nature and our own experience of plant spirit medicine, of studying and of practising the medicine and witnessing it with our patients has given us the experience of an increasing connect, a way of connecting more. And that's why we more than anything else, we feel like this is a medicine for our time. It's needed now.
So Eliot wrote his book, I think it was about 25 years ago, and he's taught a lot of people, and he's generally kind of attributed with bringing this medicine back in the style that he's taught it. Obviously there are lots of people working in many different ways. And this feeling of re-emergence is something, and it's something that's personally been a really interesting journey. So we use the analogy of the journey as the plants helping us journey back to something, journey back to a remembering of connectedness. And that is something that the plants as growing green beings on our land, and the land itself wanting to speak and bring back to us, our people, all of our people, to know that there is this underneath support coming from the earth herself, and that there is this way that the plant spirits can affect our human spirits, and that this is actually our birthright. This isn't some sort of little by-product of a healing modality. This is a really important shift for us as humans at this time, to really reconnect. And our indigenous souls, if you like, I know my soul, my very being, has been so grateful to the plant spirits for the medicine that I've received, and when I do my best to help other people, the clients that come to me, that it's something really deep and really important and really old, and it wants to be heard. And so that's really another reason why we wrote the book, because it's calling to be heard. And thank you very much for coming to hear about it. And and if you buy the book, that's really also very lovely. Not for our own profit, because that's not really the point. We want people to know that this healing modality exists. And for that, actually, I want to just remember to thank all of you at Eon Books for having the faith in us and backing it. So Mel is one of the publishers that backed us to put these stories together. So really a very big thank you to you.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
I've been having treatments for many years, plant spirit medicine treatments, and it's had a very deep effect on my life. I feel more balanced on many levels. I no longer suffer with chronic bowel problems, very rarely have asthma. My energy levels are much better. Looking back, my energy was very depleted. And it goes beyond these physical problems. I've always loved being in nature, but the love and respect has deepened, and I feel more open now to receive. I feel grounded, more alive and awake. I have a real sense of peace, especially when I'm close to trees and plants, the elements. I always had this feeling that I didn't quite belong. Maybe I was born in the wrong century or land, like a yearning for something. But I don't feel this anymore. After I've had my treatment, I usually walk into the town, and I have this tremendous sense of connection. I see people in a different light, like my heart is open to everything. I really like this feeling.
This is describing a plant spirit medicine journey. My spirit guide took me through a doorway to a place of astonishing and indescribable beauty. I can't really express how awesome it was. It was like a magical jungle, a jumble of amazingly profuse nature, as if all the plants in the world were there. And not only their physical forms, but beyond them, these spirits, from tiny lights to huge beings the size of mountains. Everywhere was an explosion of colour, ordinary and psychedelic. So many layers of existence in the same magical place. This was the realm of the plant spirits. I feel I have to give them capitals to express how incredible they are.
We are in an era of great concern about climate change and global crises connected with environmental destruction, oppressive human societies, and unprecedented extinction of our fellow species. Imbalances are writ large on the world stage, just as we suffer our personal imbalances internally in our bodies, minds, and spirits. So in our way of practicing the medicine, a central part of it is a way of diagnosing, because medicine, any medicine system has two kind of prongs really. One is the understanding of why there's an illness, the diagnosis, and then the protocol for treatment. So for us, we've got the plant spirits, and then there's the medicine. So obviously the plant spirits are the medicine, but how do we diagnose, how do we feel our way to know what a person's calling for? And for us, this is linked with what's called the 5 element system. But a really good way to understand that, for everybody to understand that, rather than get heady about it, it's all about the seasons. It's about what's happening in nature at any particular time, and the energy of the elements is expressed in the energy of the seasons. So, implicit in the growing industrialisation of the last few centuries is an arrogant assumption of separation from natural law. The rising frequency of extreme climate events makes it impossible to ignore the ultimate power of nature. Opening to the deeper mysteries of the elemental forces of the seasons helps us to better connect with them and gain more understanding of our place in nature's dream, as well as learning to negotiate the inevitable losses and challenges that life brings. Working with the seasonal energies actively increases the natural flow of life, as we are no longer going against the rising and falling of the Earth's cycles, even in these times of snow in May and heat waves in February.
We did have a heat wave in February.
And another lovely
I
one
went
in April.
swimming in the nearby lake. So this seasonal orientation, when we learn plant spirit medicine and when we're with the students of plant spirit medicine, we do these seasonal walks in nature. And one of the students on the course where we've been training to teach the healer training, Pip and myself, and one of the students on that course was a very talented woman called Jane Tibbetts, and this image on the back was drawn by her, as well as one of the illustrations in the book. Sadly, she died whilst on the course, but she wrote this spring walk.
She was already ill.
She was already ill, it wasn't. Yeah. So this is from her writing about spring, since we're in this spring season. As I am still unable to walk far, this walk comes from a series of experiences while sitting in different places in nature. I am struck by the essence I feel in each one, the bold energy, and try to convey it here. I felt it a long time ago, a pushing, pulsing urge that stirred the deep winter's waters. A big wall of energy coming up, slowly but powerfully, infiltrating everything. Nothing escaped being enveloped by it until finally everything and everyone was being noticeably worked by it. Faster walking, earlier rising, a well of energy inside. I feel I must eat and drink more. On trees and bushes, buds bursting out, expressing leaves of every description. Some even flower before their leaves as a tactic to harness this precious force. Once singularly seen, birds meet in groups and chatter and sing their love and their plans for the year.
A human being's life is also seasonal by nature. Gestation in the womb mirrors the darkened internal time of winter. The force and push of birth and growth echoes the emergence of spring. Through the incredible growth of our childhood, we develop to blossom into adulthood and move out into the world to show ourselves in all our beauty and glory. Just as the warmth of summer ripens and brings forth the harvest, so too are we sustained as we reap the bounty of our personal harvests and offer the fruits of our life to the world. When autumn brings the first chill and downturn, we remember the lessons of age and loss of vitality. In exchange are the wealth of experience and deeper understanding of what is essentially important as life falls back down to earth and we prepare to encounter the final loss of our life itself as winter. Or at least that is how it potentially can flow. Which one of us could say we have had a smooth and natural transition of these phases in our lifetime experience? Just as we see weather patterns change and deregulate, so it seems we are now so often lost in these cycles in our own lives. The offering of the plant spirits is to bring the gifts of the seasons into the rhythm of our lives, just as nature dreams it, helping us in turn release from some of our human nightmares.
We thought that we'd give the last word to one of the plant spirits. This is a journey to the yew tree. I noticed that the yew trees were in flower, and I decided I would do a plant study. That's what we do when we're getting to know our plant friends. I found a yew tree that was over 1,000 years old in the graveyard of an old church in a rural Shropshire village. I come from Shropshire, but this isn't actually my story, and I'm finding it hard to say Shropshire. But in a rural Shropshire village. It was impressively beautiful and ancient. They are called the trees of eternity, as they form a ring with time, a ring of yews with a hollow centre. Because of this, yew trees are associated with immortality and everlasting life. I sat in the sun and drew a yew. I gave thanks to it, felt it, sat with it. I did not taste it, as yews are poisonous, although actually their arils, their berries, aren't, as long as you spit out the seeds. When I was ready, I climbed inside and lay down within its gnarled and wondrous inside, completely obscured and hidden from the outside world. It felt amazing to be curled up within this ancient being. Maybe because of this, my journey was quick and very clear. I climbed inside a big grave and walked down a spiral staircase, down to the underworld. I enter into the black and emerge flying. I am a raven. I soar around the skies, feeling the joy of flight, and then land in my nest that is made within the branches of the yew tree. The yew spirit appears, much like the images of the green man. He has a tree form, but a kind bearded face with twinkling eyes. We are friends, and it feels good to be with him and to swing in his moving branches. I ask him what his medicine is that he can offer me in my healings. Fly, little one, he said. Go see what you can find. And so I flew off and came to a city, an ancient city. In every house that I looked into, I saw people who were sad and crying, who were depressed and miserable. It was as though there was no light in anybody's heart. I flew back to the yew, and he came with me to the city and breathed over the people. The light returned in their eyes. They became happy again. They stopped crying and being sad. Purpose returned. He said to me, I give you the power to see what needs to change and the capacity to change it. Vision and change.
Wow.
Lovely.
Can you say something about where the traditions come from? Its background. How did you pick up on it?
So, I feel like it was something that I always knew. I feel like it was there already in the tree that I sat in as a little girl. I feel like that got lost for me as I grew, because the tradition is there inside the land and the spirits themselves. But I think that I mean, we're in a bookshop full of stories of traditions. But I also feel like it's something that through the teaching that I received from Eliot's guidance, it's enabled me to start to feel directly from the land. So I don't know what that tradition is called, actually.
So one thing we could say is that because there's plant spirit medicine healers that trained with Eliot or with in that school all over the world, but everybody you use the plants always that grow in your own locality, that you've got your own relationship with and your own connection with, and not that you've learned. You can't learn what the medicine of a plant is by somebody else telling you what it is. It's a direct experience. It's not just a direct experience, it's a direct result of your relationship, your personal relationship that you build with the plant. So one plant can be very different, its medicine can be very different, you know, echinacea, we could say, as herbalists, we can say, oh, echinacea is great for the immune system, it does this, that and the other, boosts immunity, etc. It's good against infection, it's a blood cleanser, and so on. But in terms of plant spirit medicine, echinacea is going to do one thing. I mean, if I make a relationship with it and ask it, it's going to offer a certain kind of medicine for the spirit that isn't something that I could then say, oh, Lucy, you could use this like that. You have to build your own relationship. But in terms of the tradition that we use that's the diagnosis, for the diagnosis and the treatment protocol, that comes from the the tradition of 5-element medicine, which is a classical Chinese medicine, because our teacher Eliot was an 5-element acupuncturist. Then he started using plants instead of needles, and it came from there. Hello.
Say someone comes to you and they don't quite believe your system, does it still work for them?
Well, yeah, if they come, but quite often people don't come if they don't believe it. But
I'd like to believe, but I have to speak a bit of doubt.
yeah, no, that's good. If you come and you, but you, in order to have the medicine, you have to kind of have enough of some kind of something, a feeling that you want to give it a go, to come. And very often it's not a one-off. Usually it's a series. It's a whole progression of treatments.
Yeah.
Although actually we've had experience of treating people with in coma and so on. So, and also animals. So like, you know, people that you could say haven't got you don't know if they believe in it or not.
And definitely I've been through a massive journey with doubt, because it feels almost fantastical. And yet it's about finding the little opening and working with that. So just the fact that you would be interested enough to say, well, I might just investigate that. The answer always lies in the direct experience. It's not about a belief system. So if you don't experience anything, then your doubt is validated. But if you experience something and then further along the road your doubt re-emerges, then, well, that was my experience. You just have to keep working with the doubt.
Mine as well.
Yeah.
I've been on some journeys and they've been quite profound, but afterwards I sort of lean towards the rational explanation as much as I've met some entities and this sort of
Yeah.
or something.
I think we need to really be in mind of the culture that we're in is really driven by proof and rational mindset.
An external proof, not your own experience. In fact, we're kind of brought up to not trust our own experience.
Argument, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
That belief system it built lots of good things in this world as well as the bad.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, how Pip was talking about the polarization, it's not because this thing can give us a real experience do you rubbish everything rational.
No,
Not at all. It's about it having its own place in our pantheon of experience.
It's coming back?
Yes.
It's going to merge into the two and be respected as a...
Well, that would be the
That's
ideal,
another-
wouldn't it? That would move us...
Aquarian age, the sort of...
Well, it would move us to a much more balanced place in our evolution, wouldn't it?
Hello, Wendy.
Hi. I was just making a comment that I was a case study for someone and I didn't know what it was about. And I was lucky enough to have a series of 6 treatments, and it was amazing. And I certainly had a huge healing without knowing, and saw many magical and wonderful things in the process of that work, just going in blind. But the thing that really frustrated me, that I really wanted to ask you about, was the refusal to tell me which spirits came and why. Because
we don't tell people anything really,
no,
because and there's a good reason for it.
yes,
And of course, when we're patients, we desperately want to know everything and do everything we can to get the information out of our healer. But the thing is that, so the reason we don't is because information is about the mind, and what we're trying to do is give an experience, and also we want. Actually, if you've been given information, it's a very good feeding for doubt, because when you then go, oh, I don't know if I really experienced anything. Oh, well, she told me I was going to experience that, and that's why I experienced it. Do you see what I mean? So we just say, let's let the medicine, let the energy experience do whatever it's going to do and unfold and give you the experience, and then that leads to something else more interesting than la 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 la, because we're all completely information, you know, all the time.
But it wasn't for information, it's for validation.
Ah,
just to see if
ah.
people, if what I saw was what the practitioner had seen.
Well, I tell people one day,
Do you?
but your healer might be more,
He's doing very
he
straight.
might be more
Circumspect.
circumspect.
As normal sort of teachers, like normal herbalists, and also do you channel the spirits to decide which herbs to give people?
No, wait, you want to answer, or shall I?
You can.
Okay, no, we don't actually give substance medicine. The person, we have a whole conversation and there's a sort of examination that we do, which is how we figure out the diagnosis. It's quite a vigorous, or rigorous, not vigorous, rigorous.
Vigorous and rigorous.
Yeah, it's quite a definite protocol that we follow. And then, so when we're doing the medicine, the person, you lie down, you're fully dressed, you lie down on a couch, usually lie down on a treatment couch, and we do a lot of pulse taking in a manner of Chinese medicine, both sides. We take the pulses, and then actually when we're delivering the medicine, we put our hands somewhere on the person, and we don't. Well, we call the plants that we've made a previous relationship with and got a previous agreement, and the plant comes and does its thing. Yeah, the spirit.
Yeah.
Then we take the pulse again, and we can feel when it's changed. We're looking for change in the pulses. So it starts off the person's things are very out of balance, and then at the end of the treatment, all the pulses come together and there's balance. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks very much for listening
Yeah.
to us and for
Thank you
coming.
very much. Yeah.